For thousands of years, the legend has been passed down. A mighty warrior will rise to the occasion and save our fledgling world from— oh, there's Barry right there. Okay, sorry. I was gonna go on this whole prophecy trip and everything like that. You know, destruction of the world, evil wizard, dragons and everything. Barry's already here. He'll take care of everything. Okay. Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking here, and today we got ourselves an SBS. Not just any SBS, this is a once-in-a-lifetime SBS. This is the only time we will ever get SBS 98. I guess you could also say that about pretty much every other SBS, but, you know, this one in particular is special. Pretty cool cover page as well. The Tankobon cover looks pretty sweet. Getting close to volume 100, so we were already really hyped for chapter 1000 for so long. I guess we can get hyped for volume 100 for just as long, or at least for the next few months. Volume 100, these come out like every 3 to 4 months, the Tankobons in Japan. So volume 100 should come out, I guess, by like the fall or winter of this year. So get hyped for that. Alright, so this SBS, once again, thanks to Artur, links below to the Library of Ohara and everything, because that's where I'm getting the translations from. This SBS is kind of half and half. You know, a lot of times we might get an SBS that's relatively short, but might have some really important, like, questions that people want to know about, like devil fruits and hockey and stuff related to the characters. Other times, they're a lot more, like, joke questions. This one is kind of split right down the middle, because there are 20 questions total, and I took 10 that I'm actually going to answer today that I feel are, like, important enough to warrant discussion. There's a few other ones that are, like, interesting. Like, we find out Yamato's birthday. It's November 3rd. So there you go. If you were curious about Yamato's birthday, there you go. November 3rd. Birthday. I get made fun of sometimes the way I say that. Birthday. But anyway, let's go tackle the first question that is of the utmost importance. Please draw Law's face when he eats umeboshi, which is a Japanese sour plum. So basically, draw Law's face when he's sucking on something extraordinarily sour. And so, Oded goes ahead and does that. This is umeboshi variant Law. This is, you know what's funny? I love the face faults that characters do in One Piece, you know, like Luffy and everybody has the crazy face faults, like, what? And Chopper and Usopp and Brook, that all happens very often with them. It's always hilarious to me whenever a character that's, like, usually very serious or stoic, or we don't see the face faults from, it happens with them. So, like, when Jinbei was, you know, there at Fishman Island, he was in the Sea Forest, and Shirahoshi shows up, which that makes no sense why the princess, who's supposed to be inside of this hard shell tower protected at all times, is now just wandering the Sea Forest, and so Jinbei was just like, ah, yes, Shirahoshi, nice to see you, it's been a while, Gwa! And then there was the scene, I think later it was during Dressrosa, when Robin had a face fault as well, and then there was the moment with Law and the bread, you know, I hate bread! Ah! You know, and so it's always funnier when serious characters do it, and so I just wanted to mention that right there. It also, this SBS is a very nostalgic SBS for me. I don't know about you, but there are two questions in particular here that, like, awoke a memory that I've, like, forgotten, you know, like, way back when I was a kid, and one of them when I was in, I think, 2nd grade, it was right after Easter, and I had gotten a bunch of Easter candy, and I was loving Airheads at the time. Airheads was, like, my favorite candy, right? And there were, like, these super sour Airheads that I had in my desk, and I'm sitting there in the classroom, and the teacher is, like, giving a lesson or whatever, and I'm way in the back, and I'm thinking, like, could I reach into my desk, take an Airhead, unwrap it, and just, like, eat the whole thing, like, shove the whole Airhead in my mouth, and eat the whole thing without her being any of the wiser? And so I do these really slow, like, deliberate, like, you know, she's walking over there, and I'm like, whoop, pull out the Airhead, and then she walks back, and then she walks back over, and I, like, unwrap it really quick, and then I, like, just put the whole Airhead, it's like Laffy Taffy, I put, like, a whole thing of Laffy Taffy into my freaking mouth, and then I'm just sitting there, like, and of course, I'm not as slick as I think I was, and the teacher noticed immediately. And she did it in such a nonchalant way. She was just like, it's like, okay, and you divide 6 by 3, and you get 2. By the way, Matt, please do not eat candy before lunchtime. And it was so, everyone immediately turned to me, and it was just like, ha! And so I'm sitting there, and my face goes red, and I'm like, could I please finish eating it? She's like, well, yeah, go ahead. You've already, like, you're already in the middle of chewing it. Might as well finish. I'm like, okay. Sorry, but yeah, so that was the one memory, but we'll see where the other ones goes to. Okay, so that was the first question. All right, next up, I love this one. This one includes the writing of the person that actually sent it in, and I'm assuming Artur just took the writing in his translation as well. If Luffy's Gear 4 is a thing, which hold on. Yeah, okay. Based off of this figurine I have right here, Luffy's Gear 4th, I think, is indeed a thing. Okay, so Luffy's Gear 4th is a thing, yes. Then will Gear 5 be a thing too? Question mark, exclamation point. You know what? I don't know if this is translated like rough script from like Japanese into like what it would look like in English, but if like a Japanese student wrote it in English like this, that would be impressive, you know, because, like, that would be like me writing in hiragana as, like, you know, like an elementary school student. I couldn't do that, right? But this would probably be similar to what it looks like if it's translated out. And so Oda included it. And Oda's response to this was basically like, oh, yeah, well, Gear 5? Well, Gear 5 should come after Gear 4, and everybody's fighting against these really strong characters, so the story is Gear 5. Moving on. He's trolling us again. This is Oda trolling us. He's not giving us a direct answer like, Gear 5th? Yeah, you know, Luffy's training and everything, and he'll probably achieve Gear 5th at some point in the story, or he already has achieved Gear 5th, or he has a basic idea what Gear 5th will be, or Gear 5th will be involving hockey, like, you know, Gear 4th was mostly, like, armament and stuff, so maybe Gear 5th will be conquerors. You know, Oda could have given us some hints about it, but he doesn't. He basically just says, the story is reaching Gear 5th levels! I personally think Gear 5th will be a thing. The reason why we haven't seen it now, like, Luffy did not know Gear 5th, like, right after the time skip. I feel like Gear 4th was his main thing that he was learning and mastering throughout his days on Ruskina, and so that's why you got the different forms, okay? Different forms, you know, Bound Man is kind of an all-rounded, jack-of-all-trades version of it. Tank Man is an armament hockey-based version. Snake Man is the observation version. Maybe there's Lion Man, which will be the Conqueror's hockey version of Gear 4th, the various mans that exist. Gear 5th, if it does exist, I've said this before, I would just rather it be Luffy's awakening. I would just rather it be Luffy awakens the Gamu Gamu no Mi somehow. Maybe somebody teaches him how to awaken it, like Katakuri or somebody. Katakuri shows back up and he's like, hey, I have an awakened Mochi Mochi no Mi, and this fruit is essentially like an upgraded version of your fruit, so I should be able to at least teach you some basics on how I awakened it, how you could awaken it, maybe, and then whenever Luffy awakens the power, he'll just call it Gear 5th. His Gear 5th will be his awakening. That's just what he'll call it. So, but at any rate, yeah, that was an interesting little question there. Oh, this is a good one. Hey, everyone! So I made a little blunder. This is Oda speaking. I made a little blunder. I lost the postcard a reader sent to me. Sorry, but it's fine. Hey, Oda, you know what? It's cool. It's fine. You are the author of one of the most, like, right now, the best-selling manga in the entire world. You know, I think One Piece is straight up the most popular manga in the entire world. It's not the longest that's ever ran, but I think it is the most popular. So I understand he probably gets messages all the time. I even sent him a letter once, years ago. Remember that? That was a fun time. Anyway, but I remember the contents. It's okay. It was from a fellow that asked me to look at his YouTube channel. It's not me. It's not me. But every time I see YouTube in the damn SBS, like, can you blame me that I instantly either think of myself or someone else that I know, that like Roger or Joy Boy or somebody like O'Hara sent them in, or Library of O'Hara sent them in, right? You know, I've sent letters to Oda before. I've sent the one. I even used One Piece stationery to send it to him. But anyway, yeah, so this is someone that has a YouTube channel that specializes in crafting One Piece figurines. And so, yeah, but I just wanted to include this because it's like, it's pretty fun to think some readers have become YouTubers. See, I'm a reader, Oda, and I do YouTube. There you go. So please give, and it gives the name of the person as well. Aeon-kun? Aeon-kun. So good luck with the channel. I've heard they did a collab with Sanada, which we should be acquainted with at this point, but you'd better be off not watching that, so that's funny. So, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to reference that because it has a reference to YouTube, and you're currently watching this on YouTube, so meta, fourth wall break, I don't know. Moving on, what's next? Okay, this is an interesting one. So somebody asks a question about the Marines, like the structure of the Marine organization, right? Like somebody was obviously a little confused, like, Sakazuki is an admiral, but he is the fleet admiral, but like the basic ranking, right? Now Oda states, now that you mention it, I don't think I've explained before how the Navy is structured, but please see how they are graded. Okay, so I remember that Oda definitely did this before. It was in a data book. I remember the chart, and I'll pull it up because I've used it before in other Navy videos I've done. My little Navy series where Barry and me are rising through the naval ranks, right, and everything like that. So Oda's definitely revealed this before, but maybe he means like he's talked about it in an SBS, or not an SBS, a data book, but he's never actually addressed it in an SBS or in the actual canon of the manga, how the whole structure of the organization goes. So really quick, it goes Fleet Admiral, Admiral, Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, Commodore, Captain, Commander, Lieutenant, Lieutenant Junior Grade, Ensign, Warrant Officer, which we've gotten none of those yet, Master Chief Petty Officer, Petty Officer, Seaman First Class, Seaman Apprentice, and Seaman Recruit. Also, Chore Boy or Zatsuyo, which is like an unofficial rank. Sometimes it's included as an official rank. Here it's included as an official rank. That's the rank that Kobe and Helmeppo started at, and they're rising slowly up the ladder of the Marines. Although we do get a few extra things stated here. First off, we find out that on top of other Rear Admiral Hina, which Hina I think right now was the only one that was in the Rear Admiral category that we actually know about, T-Bone, the captain that I believe, he was a captain during Eni's Lobby. He was the one that was on board the sea train, and he sliced that Sea King down, and then Zoro was all serious and stuff. I remember that scene, because that scene in the anime was creepy as hell, where they're on the train heading to Eni's Lobby, and they pass by this freaking Sea King that's just been, like, freaking split in half right alongside the rails, and Zoro is just, like, Zoro doesn't even say anything. Zoro just, like, steps out in front, like, on top of the Rocket Man, and he just takes off his freaking bandana and ties it on, and he's like, just thinking to himself, there's somebody waiting on this railway. Somebody further down that can slice Sea Kings in half. And he just takes out his swords and he just gets ready. Now, the payoff for that is kind of lackluster, because T-Bone's on the tracks, and then the Rocket Man's coming at him, and then he attacks, and I think Zoro uses Rashomon, and he just boom! And he just slams right through T-Bone. And then it was an awesome panel. It was awesome. But it was like setting it up like, there's a really strong swordsman later down on this railway. I might be in for the fight of my life. And then it gets taken out in like one hit. Which makes sense. I mean, they're literally in the middle of a railway, in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a typhoon. That's a lot of middles, okay? So it's like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, Zoro and... I guess T-Bone could have, like, jumped on top of the Rocket Man, and then Zoro and T-Bone could have had, like, an awesome duel on the roof of the Rocket Man. Like, that would have been pretty damn cool. You know, moving at, like, 300 miles an hour is... These two swordsmen are, like, clashing in the middle of a typhoon. That would have been cool. But that's not what we went with. But anyway, I guess T-Bone, he made it out of that okay. We saw him at Marineford very briefly, and he is actually promoted to Rear Admiral grade now, so it's not just Hina that's in that category. Let's see, anybody else? Full Body and Django. I gotta mention these guys. All right, so anybody that knows about the cover story, you know, Django's Dance Paradise, you know, basically how this went was Full Body, I think, was a regular lieutenant when he was first introduced at the Baratier, you know, with Sanji and putting the bug in the soup and everything, and he, you know, Sanji gives him a piece of his mind and everything like that. Okay, so at that moment, I think Full Body, you know, he went to Mirrorball Island after that exchange, right, and he met Django there, and so the two struck up a friendship. Although Django was a pirate, he did have a bounty. I can't exactly remember it right now, but he did have a bounty because he was the acting captain of the Black Cat crew. And so, through some machinations involving funky dance numbers, they literally... They dance their way to freedom. Django, they're in the court. They have a court going on, and a jury, and a judge. I think there's like several judges, and they're like, you will be tried as a pirate. And freaking Django and Full Body start dancing up a storm in the middle of the damn courthouse. And the judges get in on it too, and the jury, and everybody's dancing. And at the end of it, your freaking judge is like, he pounds the gavel down. He's like, all right, look, Django, I know you're a pirate, and you've done some nefarious deeds, and I know we represent the world government and the judicial system of this world, but whoo, I haven't had a dance number like that in my courtroom in years. Boom! Exonerated of all crimes, but you have to be a seaman recruit in the Marines. Also, full body, you are hereby demoted to seaman recruit. You're gonna work alongside Django to make sure he doesn't get into any other nefarious business. Oh man, you guys come back to the courtroom sometime though. That was a lot of fun. Okay. So that's how that went. So Django started off as a seaman recruit. If it's like, okay, you're exonerated of your pirate crimes, but you gotta be a freaking, a Marine now. And so Django agreed, and then Full Body was demoted so they can kind of work together, right? And so they started working under Hina. All right, and we see them later on during Marineford fighting against Luffy very briefly, and then after the time skip, we really weren't sure what their ranks were, but we could assume they got stronger. Even Full Body looks a lot more buff than he did when he was like wearing the fancy suit and he was in the East Blue and the Baratie and everything. Looks like he's put on some muscle, he's trained a bit, and so their ranks are actually both now lieutenant commanders. They are the same ranks that Helmeppo, just Helmeppo is right now. So Helmeppo is a lieutenant commander under Captain Kobe, and so Full Body and Django are lieutenant commanders underneath Rear Admiral Hina. All right, so that's cool that they've risen through the ranks, and Full Body actually achieved his rank plus a rank ahead of where he was, because I think Full Body was just a regular lieutenant back during the East. And then Django is really coming up in the world, right? He started off as a pirate, and then he was a naval recruit, and now he's already a lieutenant commander, so pretty damn awesome there. Sengoku was formerly the fleet admiral, and now he's the inspector general. He's essentially retired. On the back of his coat now, it doesn't say justice, I think it says retired, and so he's still around, and we saw him like giving that briefing to all the younger Marines about Rocks and Roger and Garp, and he was just telling them that whole story. So he's still around, but he's like no real official duties. He kind of like inspector general. He kind of goes wherever. The Marines can't really let him like just retire and go away. Like the world government can't, because like Sengoku, it's been stated, he knows about the Will of D. He knows about like a lot of the secrets of the world. And so they just can't let him just retire and go off to some island and never hear from him again. The world government needs to keep tabs on him. Kuzan Aokiji, former admiral, but now he's working with Blackbeard. We already knew that. And then Drake was the former Rear Admiral, now the captain of Sword, and now Corazon is dead, and he used to be a commander. Also, it still lists Monkey D. Garp as a vice admiral, and I should just mention that that's interesting, because I always understood that Garp had, like, basically given up his vice admiral position to be just, like, an instructor to teach younger Marines, right, the ropes and all that. I like to think that that title of vice admiral for him, though, it is sort of like an honorary thing. Like, he doesn't have all of the duties that a regular vice admiral has. He's Garp, he's the hero, he can kind of go do whatever he wants. His official rank is vice admiral, but for the most part, he kind of just does whatever, and he's an instructor. You know, like if there's a buster call, probably not Garp is going to show up as one of the 5 captains for that buster call, you know what I mean? And he has some, like, special treatment given his, like, his history and accolades in the Marines. But yeah, just wanted to bring that up because it's interesting. I don't think there's anything else on this list that, like, we just don't know, like new promotions or anything. So moving on, this is a fun one. Okay, so question 13 is just all the officers of the Kaido Pirates are named after card games, right? And Oda's like, yeah, they are. It's obvious when it comes to, like, Jack, Queen, King, you know, those are just the face cards in a deck. But Who's Who, Black Maria, Ulti, Page 1, Sasaki, Hold'em, Baba Nuki, obviously, you know, the first 5 there are members of the Tobi Roppo. Hold'em and Baba Nuki are just regular headliners. You know, Texas Hold'em. Baba Nuki just means old maid. I've never honestly heard of any of the card games like Who's Who, Black Maria. I remember, like, when I did the reviews, I went back and checked. I think Ulti's is like a Dutch card game, but I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. But yeah, what's more interesting, though, about this question is not so much the card game names, it's that Oda also goes into detail talking about Doflamingo, saying that, like, the reason Doflamingo's name is Joker is because originally, in the first draft that Oda had of Wano, Doflamingo was supposed to be an enemy in Wano the Straw Hats were going to have to fight next to Kaido. So, can you freaking imagine that? Doflamingo had his entire arc of Dressrosa that was already like 100 chapters long. It was already, currently right now, and it's about to be passed up, Dressrosa is the longest arc of One Piece. You know, give it like an extra 10 chapters or so. I think less than that, because I think Wano started in like chapter 908 or 909, so we're almost at 100 chapters of Wano. Wano's going to pass it up. But we already had a whole freaking arc focused on Doflamingo. Can you imagine if, like, in the original draft, it's Big Mom, Kaido, and Dofi that the Straw Hats all had to face down in Wano? Wano would be the most insane arc ever. It would be like 400 chapters long to like include all of this crap. But yeah, that's the reason there. And I mean, it still works. I mean, Doflamingo is working with Kaido, and that's why he has the code name Joka. But, you know, just because he has the code name Joker doesn't mean he has to be on Kaido's crew or he has to be hanging out in Wano all the time, right? It just means that there's a connection to him. And also we have the different seats as like the royalty of like his commanders, the executives of the Doflamingo family. You know, the heart seat, the spade seat, the club seat, the diamond seat, you know, Diamante. So that's like, you know, the suits of the cards, whereas the face cards are Jack, Queen, King. So Oda, and then the numbers represent the numbers. He does also mention, though, that this only includes, like, the original members of Kaido's crew. So, like, Drake, Apu, and Hawkins that are all members of the crew in some way, shape, or form, but they were originally, you know, their own supernovas, their own captains of their own crews, so they don't actually have the names. Apu is still a loyal member of Kaido's crew, at least I guess. After the whole thing with Queen, maybe he might defect. Hawkins, we don't know what's up with Hawkins. It's whatever the cards tell him. Drake used to be a Tobiropo, but it was revealed, of course, that was just a front for his sword operation. But even that, like, Diaz Drake, X Drake, X can mean 10 in Roman numerals, you know, Diaz. So there you go. Even with that being the case, it still kind of does reference card numbers in some way. But at any rate, yeah, so that was pretty cool. It's not really written exactly whether or not Doflamingo was supposed to be like a straight-up member of Kaido's crew, or maybe just an ally that happened to also reside in Wano, similar to Orochi. Not really sure how this would have went, but it's just interesting to look in, like, the first drafts of One Piece that Oda came up with, right? Next question. Oh, this is a good one. I have a question. Those who ate the smiles grew horns, right? Then why do pleasures have horns and gifters two horns? Okay, so this is something that's, you know, brought up. You know, why do Kaido's crew, like, members have horns? The waiters don't have any horns. The pleasures always have one, and the gifters always have two. And Oda says that it's just confirmed. It's just for fashion. It's the style in the Beast Pirate crew, right? They're the Beast Pirates, after all. They gotta have horns. And so it's kind of like a rank, you know, thing where waiters have none, pleasures have one, gifters have two, but it's implied even with the gifters, they're just fake. And so we see a picture of like Gazelle Man there with just the regular horns that are like, you know, on like a mask or something. Though when it comes to characters like Jack, I'm thinking Jack's horns are real, because, you know, they just, you know, they're still there at all times, I'm assuming. Kaido is the same way. I don't think Kaido has, you know, like, he takes off his horns. I don't think that's a thing that's, like, design-wise. I think it is, like, legit when it comes to those characters. You know, does King have horns? I feel like King has stuff, you know, coming out of his, like, mask and stuff, so those are probably real horns as well. But when it comes down to the lower-ranking members of the Beast Pirates, yeah, they're all just, like, a fashion choice. I wonder if there's a store on Wano, like on Onigashima. It's like, okay, you've been recruited into Kaido's crew, and you're a pleasure now, or you're a gifter now. We have a lovely assortment of fashionable horn hats and horn caps that you can wear here, helmets and whatever. This pair has also a pair of goggles attached to it, and everyone's looking there like, wow, this is quite interesting. Wow, I love the selection. You know, do you have something in maroon? Well, we have this section over here. So yeah, I like that a lot. That's pretty cool. All right, what's next? Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so this is continuing the series of drawing the Straw Hats at age 40 and age 60. So we've already done Luffy, Zoro, Usopp, Chopper, Nami, and I think that's it. We haven't done Robin yet, even though Oda promised he would, you know, do Robin. Oda promised he would draw Robin like this, like 3 SBSs ago. We're still waiting on that. Frankie we haven't seen. Brook we haven't seen. I don't even imagine if Brook would even change all that much. And Jinbei we haven't seen. But at any rate, yeah, so we see Sanji this time, which, okay, I'll roll with it. Let's start with the universe where things go perfectly as planned. You know, if the Straw Hats succeed, what they would look like. So Sanji at age 40 is rocking his mother's hairstyle. I've seen a lot of people cue that up. Sola's hairstyle with, like, the wavy curls. Not really curls, but, like, wavy kind of hairstyle. And it's a little bit longer. It's down, like, a little bit beyond his neck. But age 40, Sanji states, whether it's women or food, I ain't picky. So his opinion on food seems to really haven't changed very much, but when it comes to women, I guess his perspective on that and dating and everything has shifted slightly at that point. He looks kind of like, I don't know, sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio a little bit with longer hair at that age. Yeah, I'm not really sure. That's the first thing that popped into my head, but okay. And then at age 60, I love this because there's parallels in the good dimension and the bad dimension. In the good dimension at age 60, he resembles Zeph. So he's got this really fancy chef outfit on. He's got the scarf. He's got the chef hat, which I'm assuming is as tall as Zeph's is. And he's got the beard even that's like modeled after Zeph's like braid. And he's like, I'm gonna go fish in the all blue. So I said this on Twitter. I would actually really love Sanji to be actually running the Baratier at the end of the story. So after the end of the story, maybe Sanji travels around for a little while. Maybe he discovers the all blue. Well, he definitely has to discover the all blue. But then he travels around and he discovers all this great food and he goes back to the Baratier. You know, Zeph's getting on in years. Eventually, Zeph is going to have to, you know, lay down his spatula and his hat and retire. And at age 60, when Sanji's at age 60, Zeph would probably have already passed on. Although in One Piece, you never know, because, like, Kureha lived to be 140, right? And Zeph he's kind of superhuman in his own right, so who knows, maybe. But at some point, he's going to have to retire, and then Sanji will take over. Maybe he can move the Baratier to where the All Blue is, and so the All Blue is this paradise of fish, and then the Baratier, and it's been renovated again. The Baratier is like this giant castle in the middle of the All Blue. That would be really cool. But I think Sanji becoming the head chef of the Baratier or some other kind of seafaring restaurant in his older years, that makes sense. Following in his father figure's footsteps, Zeph. And so in the universe where things go wrong, at age 40, he looks kind of scraggly. His hair is really, like, matted and long. Kind of reminds me of, like, Number 4 from K&D, right? So he's got the hair down. He's still smoking a cigarette, and he's got some scruff there. It looks like he hasn't shaved in, like, a month. And he's just like, as long as it fills the belly, all food's the same. In a future where things went wrong, he is Judge. Basically Judge, straight up. So I like to imagine this as if, like, Sanji was genetically modified the same as the other, you know, Germa siblings, and he stayed in, you know, the Germa kingdom, and he never, you know, he never went out to sea, he never met Zeph or anything like that, he just stayed where he was. At age 60, Judge would probably long be past, and I feel like all of the Germa siblings at their older age would kind of look like Judge, with the helmet and the hair and everything and the beard. He's like, drain the poison into the sea. We're just gonna kill everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's older Sanji. I like to imagine also that Judge and Sanji bear actually a striking family resemblance. Like the eyebrows are gonna twirl in the same way that they do with Sanji and then Judge, because we've yet to see Judge's like brow because he always has the helmet on. But yeah, it's his two father figures. It's either in the universe where everything goes good, which is apparently the universe we're going to end up in, Sanji's going to take after Zeph. And in the other universe, he's going to take after Judge. So there you go. But at any rate, yeah, that's pretty cool. Always cool to see the Straw Hats in an older age. But can we get the Robin ones next? Please, Oda. Thank you. Okay. Next up, is this the good one? We're not getting there yet, but there's another one. We're just going to end it out with the big question, the one that everybody's freaking out about, the devil fruit question. That's a good one. Question 17, though. This is one about Izo and Kiku. Oh, Kiku really quick. Okay. So I didn't even notice this, by the way. This is somebody that really is paying attention to everything. During the Oden flashback, there's a scene when Izo and Okiku are little kids, where Izo is running away with Kiku on his back, and Kiku's got, like, Izo's pistol and, like, using it to defend herself at, like, that young age, being, like, you know, on the back of Izo as they're escaping, right? And so I didn't even see that when I first read the chapter, the Oden flashbacks. Oda just explains that, like, oh, Kiku was just using Izo's guns. So it explains a little bit more into Izo's, like, swordsmanship and his, like, firearm training and stuff. Izo is gifted with the gun. He's, like, you know, a crack shot, you know, 10 out of 10 flawless precision, you know, just like you line up 100 vases at different locations all around him. Izo is just gonna, like, 100 bullets. There's gonna be a perfect score, okay? So, don't think too much about Kiku holding the pistol, but it was also something interesting when Izo was traveling on Whitebeard's crew, because Izo is still a samurai. I think Izo feels like he has to still use a sword, like a katana, right? Because it's like, you know, I am a samurai from Wano, I use guns, and maybe it was more of like when Izo was one of the scabbards, the gun thing was more of just a hobby. because it was more of just like his samurai did use rifles. That is a thing that is historically accurate. Like during the end of the Sengoku period, like during the 1500s when Wang Ji, you know, brought over and translated for the Portuguese traders that gave the guns to Japan. And so maybe not necessarily flintlock pistols, but the revolvers, the matchlocks, those definitely existed. Samurai definitely used the crap out of those, right? But maybe in the land of Wano, it was like, you know, I'm a vassal of Odin. I need to use a sword. And so he was, you know, he's a samurai. He's okay with using a sword, but the gun, his sharpshooting, that's where Izo's talents really lie. And so there's a statement here that he met with Vista, who is, you know, the leader of the swordsmanship division on the 5th division on Whitebeard's crew, and said, you know, you should use that specialty of yours to protect others. So, you know, Izo might have just viewed it as like, oh, check out this cool little party trick I can do. You know, like shooting down all the targets or whatever. And Vista's like, you know, you're okay with a sword, you're average, but your sharpshooting skills are like beyond reproach. You should go talk to Curiel. Curiel is like the Vietnam War vet, like I like to think of, that's like on Whitebeard's crew. He's the 10th Division commander. He's got all the firearms and the artillery, like the big guns. You want the big guns, you call in Curiel, right? And so, yeah. And so being a samurai is a way of life after all. So Izo abandoned the way of the sword and he picked up the gun. I will say one thing about that, because I remember this. I did a whole video on Izo. There is a scene during Marineford. It's just one little panel at the end of the battle when everybody's kind of picking stuff up and leaving. You do get to see Izo with a sword. Not saying it's a contradiction or anything. I'm not. I'm just saying that, like, he might still have a sword he keeps and maybe uses, but sharpshooting and his guns, his flintlocks, that's, like, what he mainly uses to fight. Right? Okay. And so Kiku's thing is, of course, the sword, because we see her use that, of course, when she fought against Kaido and everything, you know, with the armor and all that stuff. And so that's just how that goes. But yeah, still technically uses a sword maybe from time to time, but just not good at it. As good as, like, you know, Odin or Kinemon are, you know? All right, moving on. So we have 2 more questions. One of them is the devil fruit question, but the last one I'll just tackle first. And so this question, I don't know, this one could be pretty important too. We get the name for this guy. Yeah, this guy. The guy that just appeared in the last episode of One Piece, the episode that kicked off Odin's flashback arc. This guy who is one of the attendants, like the butlers of the Kozuki clan. So it's like Sukiyaki's like assistant. And this is Banzaburo. And he's a samurai that was picked by Sukiyaki in his youth, and who's immensely grateful for that. So it's just like one of the most loyal vassals of the Kozuki clan that will be with them till the end of time. So even with Orochi messing around and everything, this is just like a loyal retainer, like kind of like an Alfred figure, you know, like Alfred to Bruce Wayne, you know. Banzaburo is like the loyal butler and retainer of the Kozuki clan, and is probably most likely dead now, but will always stand by them. Who knows? Maybe he's still alive. Maybe he's in hiding. Maybe he's one of the people fighting and he just lost all of his hair and he just looks different. He doesn't look that old right here, right? And this was only, okay, well, no, this scene was like, you know, 41 years ago. So yeah, he's probably dead now, but maybe not, who knows. But yeah, that's Banzaburo. All right, so now moving on to the final question. This is the big one. Oda-sensei, I had a fun question. If the Straw Hats all had devil fruits, what would they be? And so this is something that's been around for a while. I did a video about this. It is one of the most popular videos on my channel. I think it almost has 1 million hits, is if all the other Straw Hats had devil fruits too. Now, let me just explain right now. That would actually be horrible. That would be a horrible idea if all the Straw Hats had devil fruits, because then nobody would be able to swim. Also, Jinbei is not included in this lineup, probably because of that reason. He is a fishman. It is not impossible for a fishman to have a devil fruit, like, you know, Vanderdecken proves that, but severely limits their abilities as fishmen if they can't swim, right? But at any rate, we got Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Frankie, and the devil fruits that Oda thinks would fit their personality the best. So first off, we have Zoro, and on top of Zoro, we also get the name of Kaido's devil fruit, because Oda gives Kaido's devil fruit to Zoro, and by extension of that, it is the Ua Ua no Mi, the fish fruit. We already knew that. Mythical type, model, Seiryu, or Blue Dragon, or Azura Dragon. Okay, so there you go. That's the name of the fruit. The fish fruit model Azure Dragon. Okay? We all on board there. All right. And so he states that not only Zoro getting it, he actually kind of thinks that it would be cooler if one of Zoro's swords ate the dragon fruit. So then you would have Zoro using a dragon sword. Zoro using a dragon sword. So many cool scenes flooded into my mind in that 5-second moment. I don't even... Okay, let's just throw some out there, okay? Zoro jumps into the air. He takes out... Let's just assume it's the Watto, because the Watto is like his sword. So he goes and visits Vegapunk after they kill Kaido. They give him the freaking fish fruit. Yeah, we killed Kaido. Here's his fruit. Can you pop that in my sword for me? That would be an upgrade. That would automatically make it a Saijo Iwasamono grade sword. I don't care what the status, Meito. I don't know how swords gain rank or notoriety. You pop the damn Dragon Zone, in the mythical Dragon Zone, into a sword. I don't care if you take a rusty sword and you turn it into that. It's an instant Saijo Iwasamono. There are now 13 in the world. Congratulations, Zoro. But at any rate, okay. So he gets it. He jumps into the air. He draws his sword. Just the act of unsheathing his sword. Fire just erupts from the scabbard. Just whoosh! And he just, you know, takes it out, and the sword is like in its hybrid form. It's like dragon head at the, maybe on the hilt, it's like a dragon's head, and the whole blade is like scales and shit. And then he swings it, and like fire waves come out. Like, he can cut fire right now, but he can actually like generate fire, not just with the blaze technique or friction or hockey. No, he can literally take out this sword and just flamethrower. You know, he can do that. It can turn into a dragon for him to ride around on. Zoro takes it as like, man, we got to get to the next island. We don't have a boat. It's okay. Turns his sword into a freaking dragon, hops on it, gets some sake, and like, all right, let's go. And it just sails them away, especially if it's as big of a dragon as Kaido can turn into, right? Although Zoro is Zoro, so he would still get lost. But, you know, maybe the sword has better sense of direction than he does, right? Oh my god. All of his techniques. Onigiri, that gets an upgrade. Just imagine everything except with scales and more dragon fire. No matter what technique he uses, he is perpetually on fire, or the sword is perpetually on fire. He can generate clouds. He can send out wind blades and lightning and fire. All the crazy stuff Kaido can do. You know, lightning, flame, dragon slayer, sword blade. The attacks would be ridiculous. The attacks would be insane. You know how, like, in Naruto, Minato has, like, that running gag where every jutsu Minato thinks of has this really long, convoluted, complicated name? That would be the names of the techniques, since he can literally control lightning, wind blades, fire, clouds of fire, dragon scales, flight. You know, it'd be like all this crazy stuff added to it. It would be crazy. But yeah, that's great. I love that. But you know what's even crazier than Zoro having a dragon sword? Nami having the Goro Goro no Mi. Oda's really going full power here. Nami having Eneru's Logia, the Rumble Rumble fruit. A true weather lady. Now, no one can stop her anymore, apart from Luffy. So, there you go. Oda confirmed it right there. And so, boom! Electric Nami, crazy, hot, sexy, lightning bolt lady. This is something that also had a major nostalgia, like, flashback for me. Like, something I'd completely forgotten about, okay? So, remember the Superman animated series? Yeah, this is a 90s fest today. The Superman animated series. I saw a lot of episodes of that show. I was not, like, way into it, you know, but I remember watching a lot of episodes of that show whenever it was on, and I remember there was a villain introduced once that used to be, like, a radio DJ, and she was throwing, like, a concert or some kind of event, and it was a lightning storm, and then Superman shows up and like, hey, go home, this isn't safe. And then lightning strikes Superman, and then bounces off of him, and then strikes this lady, this DJ, and she, boom, turns into a sexy freaking supervillain named Livewire. And so I'm like, I remember that! And I'm like, okay. Anybody that knows more about DC could probably explain more, because I'm literally just going off my memory here. But she's, you know, she's got lightning powers, and her skin is blue, and like sticking up like white hair, and then she could control lightning and electricity. She can like go into like power outlets and like travel around the world and stuff, kind of like Red Hot Chili Peppers from JoJo. Although I guess JoJo did it first. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So that just like Nami becomes Livewire basically. But can you imagine this? Nami with a Logia. Holy crap! And if she still used her climb attack, she would literally be a goddess. She would be the lightning goddess of weather and everything. Like, even more so than Big Mom. You could look at Big Mom like Big Mom controls Prometheus, the sun, Zeus, the thundercloud, and Napoleon, the hat. But no, Nami, with her knowledge of navigation, with her knowledge of the weather, her skills with the climb attack, and the damn lightning Logia, she could literally take over the world. I mean, like, okay, maybe not take over the world. Well, she could take over our world. No shit, she could take over our world. That wouldn't even be a contest. You walk outside and just Nami just appears in the clouds like Eneru did when he did his giant, like, light, like, Raiga! You know, you just see Nami up there and just... Well, you saw what happened with the Resident Evil sexy 9-foot-tall vampire lady this past few weeks. Just imagine giant Nami, glowing blue, lightning coming off of her, but you could still see her appearance. You could still see her hair and her bikini and her boobs and everything, like, up in the sky, lightning everywhere, and just be like, give me all your money. I'd be like, yep, okay, well, that's where, okay, we're going with a busty lightning deity today. All right, that's, all right, okay, everything just changes overnight. It's now just worshiping Nami, statues of her just built all over the world, and she just reshapes human development, okay? But, yeah, so that is terrifying, but at any rate, she would be immensely powerful with that Logia. I mean, yeah, Haki could still injure her, but the thing is, Eneru was very skilled with his fruit. You can't say Eneru was just an idiot with the way that he used the Goro Goro no Mi. But Eneru also had that god complex, and he knew stuff about the weather, but Nami knows way more. Nami knows way more. Nami could do stuff with the lightning fruit that would make Eneru look like, you know, like in kindergarten or something, right? Like, Nami could generate, like, any sort of weather pattern probably at any time using this power, you know, to summon lightning clouds or whatever and bend them to her will. Like, the limits are, like, you know, beyond approach, you know, what she could do with that. But at any rate, I'm just gonna keep on blabbing about Nami if I don't stop at some point, so I'll stop here. But that's going on the thumbnail, okay? Lightning, sexy, Livewire, Nami, okay. Next up, Usopp. Usopp is also a fun one because it's Blamenko's Devil Fruit. Blamenko, the 6th Division Commander, although it did say 5th Division Commander here. When I was reading the SBS, there was a few translations. They all said 5th Division, so I think that might be an error on Oda's part. Vista runs the 5th Division. Blamenko was the 6th, unless there's something else going on here, but I think it's just a typo. At any rate, Blamenko, his Devil Fruit is revealed. It's the Pocky Pocky no Mi. It's the Pokey Pokey no Mi. It's like you do the Hokey Pokey. No, it's the Pocket Pocket Fruit, okay? And so, this is crazy. I just did a video last week. I think it was last Thursday. I did a video, or last Friday, about warping fruits. Devil fruits that allowed you to teleport and warp. By the way, I forgot to mention Kizaru there, so sorry. But yeah, Kizaru can warp too. He can basically made a light, so there you go. But at any rate, no. I also mentioned Blamenko's as like a pocket dimension fruit, and he can like has the little chin pockets, and he pulled out the giant hammer at Marineford and stuff. So I just assumed it would be called the Pocket Pocket Fruit. How coincidental was it, like, I just named it, or I was even talking about Blamenko right before the SBS was revealed about Blamenko. So anyway, yeah, but this would work great for Usopp, you know, the perfect pocket for someone like Usopp who's always has something up his sleeve. So Usopp has the pockets in his overalls, you know, and everything, and his, like, his messenger bag has pockets, he can put those in there. I'm assuming how it works is the way Blamenko had it with his chin pockets. You can, like, sew pockets wherever you want on your body. So even if Usopp is rendered, like let's say Usopp is captured by the Marines or something, and they take all of his, like, his clothes and his, like, you know, everything he has hidden on him, his messenger bag and everything. and they put him in, like, impel down, and they throw him in there. Well, I mean, maybe not impel down, because that's the sea prism cuffs. That wouldn't work. But they just throw him in a jail cell or something, and he's got nothing but just, like, his body. Well, he could have a pocket, like, hidden in his hair, or, you know, somewhere on his body that he could just open up and pull out, like, a lockpick or something, right? And then weapons and a slingshot. Like, it would be so handy to have that ability. Now, here's the big question. What if Usopp had the pocket fruit when he fought Luffy at Water 7? We're not doing post-time skip Usopp in the sense of, like, you know, him having the black Kabuto and all the pop greens and everything. But do you think that fight would have gone differently if Usopp would have had the pocket fruit? So everything else is the same. Usopp's got his regular pachinko shots and his regular slingshot. Doesn't even have the regular Kabuto yet, but he just had the pocket fruit. You might say it would go the same, because that doesn't change anything. It just changes, like, Usopp. Well, it does change something, and that changes Usopp now has basically infinite space, infinitum space, to put anything he wants. So on top of, like, the gas and the dials and all the caltrops and everything, Usopp could literally just reach into his pocket and pull out, like, I don't know, a wagon or something, or a giant shield to protect. Giant steel barrier! Pfft. Luffy blade hits the freaking bazooka, and Luffy can't break through it. That would be handy if it's, like, an infinite space that, like, weight and mass don't really apply. And so Usopp can just go up to a giant steel wall or a steel beam or something, and he can just, like, grab it and just whoop! And then he's fighting Luffy, and Luffy's like, Gamu Gamu no Bazooka! It's like, whoop! Boom! And it, like, stops the attack. That would be useful. Can't say it. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Sanji. Now, Sanji's interesting because up until now, Sanji always wanted the clear fruit, right? The Sube no Mi, I believe it was. No, the Sube. It's either the Suke or the Sube. I think the Sube is Alvida's, so Suke. Whatever. Anyway, the clear fruit, the invisibility fruit. And Absalom had that, and then Absalom died, and now Shiryu has that, so he still can't get it. But it's okay, because he now has his stealth black suit, which basically does do the thing that he always wanted to do anyway. He's invisible. Great. But, so, Oda puts down the Sui no Mi, the swim fruit. I guess he just really likes S-name fruits, whatever. And it's Senor Pink's fruit. It allows one to slip through walls or swim on the ground. If given to Sanji, it'd be quite the nasty ability. It is kind of weird because these fruits are obviously, like, Eneru still has his, Kaido, Flamenco, all these people still have their devil fruits. So, it's interesting that Oda didn't give him the clear fruit, but I guess that's because of Stealth Black. Like, now Sanji's like, oh, I don't even want that fruit anymore. I got this, right? And it's like, okay, well, what other fruit would you want? I also thought it might be the Door fruit, because that was also mentioned, like, if Sanji got the Door fruit, that would just be a disaster, right? But the Sui no Mi would also be very useful. You can imagine Sanji, like, jumping into the ground, swimming around, like, doing blue walk, but in the pavement, and then poop, and then poop, and then poof, and then bam! Just kick somebody really hard and then dive back underground. Kind of like what my character was doing on the last D&D session, where I rolled the drill fruit. You know, Maya's the drill that will pierce the heavens! Go, Drillium! And I'm, like, drilling around the battlefield and popping out, like, attacking the enemies and then diving back underground with my drill. That would basically be what Sanji does. Okay. Next up, and finally, we have Frankie, who would have the Buki no Mi. Baby Five's arms fruit. Can't get any better than this for an ability for Frankie. Frankie, this would actually be really cool. You know why? Because depending on how this works, if it's like a weapon that you have to touch, or a weapon that you have to visualize, or you have to understand the machinations of how it works, Frankie might be able to turn into a freaking laser. Like, he might not even have to have all of the equipment for the radical beam anymore. He could literally just use the radical beam whenever he wants. Because Baby Five can turn into a missile, and a gun, and a flamethrower, and freaking all these crazy weapons. Like, turning into swords is one thing. Turning into a missile, that's something altogether. So I think it might be, like, you have to actually come in contact with the weapon to, like, assimilate it into yourself, into your armory. Or you have to understand how it works, and then you can turn into it. And if either of those were the case, Frankie is set, because Frankie's already a cyborg, which is also great, because that would mean Frankie would have to be able to, he would be able to free up more space in his body for anything else. So there's a lot of things Frankie can do that are not technically weapons, but they're like support, like his nipple lights. You know, you need to have nipple lights for support. You know, and there's like his coup de burst. Not coup de burst, coup de boo with the fart thing, right? So those are not technically attacks, so they probably wouldn't be covered under the Buki Buki, but that means he could turn into whatever weapon he wanted, like Frankie Gatling gun, Frankie cannon, Frankie missile, Frankie like the radical beam, all that, the flamethrower. He could do that stuff with the devil fruit. He doesn't have to have the machines in him to do that, so the rest of him could just be modified into support and defense and like flight a bit. Like he can fly now. He has extra space for a jetpack or something. Like there you go, done, right? So, yes, because Baby 5 could not fly, because she had to have Buffalo in order to fly. So Frankie could, you know, completely change out how his body would work. But it was also shown during Dressrosa, Frankie said to Luffy, when Luffy asked him about getting the Mera Mera, Frankie's like, I'd rather be able to swim. So Frankie, if given the opportunity to eat the Buki Buki no Mi, he might not even take it. But that would be the best devil fruit for his, like, personality and his weapons and everything like that. And I think with that, that draws SBS 98 to a conclusion. My God, how long was that one? That was almost an hour on my end. That was about 50 minutes. I have to edit this down, of course, but whoo, man, that was awesome. Always love a good SBS. I think this one was delayed a little bit because of COVID and all that, so it may take a little bit longer for the tankobons to come out. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks again to Artur over at the Library of Artur for the translations. You go check out his stuff below. Oh no! Plushy Berry fell. When did that happen? When did this happen? I didn't even see it. I was too busy looking at the questions. Somebody comment the exact time code when this thing fell. Or not, I don't care, but the berry plushies, yes, so, they, I think, are still for sale for, I think Saturday is the day that they're gonna be, ending. If you go over to the website Teespring, if you go to the link below, it gives you a countdown, and I believe the countdown is just for this particular shipment, because I think there's, and I keep saying I think, because I'm not sure, I emailed them, but I have to hear back on exactly how this works. I'll let you know when I get a definite answer here. But I think after the countdown ends, you can still order them, but it will take longer to get there to wherever you are. These things are already, this shipment is already like June. All right, so if you order them now and it says you're not going to get them till June, that's normal. I ordered a bunch too. I ordered a bunch of berries as well. This was the prototype, of course. I'm not going to get mine until like June or maybe July either. Okay, that's just when they're going to ship. But I think the minimum shipment requirement is 100. So once that timer runs down, you can still order, but it, like 100 other people have to order, reaching the quota for it to ship again. And then that shipment might not be until fall. So the bottom line is, if you want to get yourself a berry plushie, time's running out as soon as possible. Time's running out for that, and you should go check out the link below. But once I get a better answer on all that stuff, I'll let you know as well to clarify. Okay, well anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Barry, Kamina glasses, sword, Master Sword, and Gear Forth Luffy signing out. Have a good day, everybody.